Ladies and gentlemen, we often picture success as a single dramatic moment, a breakthrough, a lightning strike, a life-changing event. But the truth is far less glamorous and far more powerful. Success is rarely born from one giant leap. It is the quiet accumulation of countless small wins, the daily choices we make, the minor victories that no one claps for, that eventually lead us to the extraordinary. Think about it, a single drop of water seems insignificant, but over time, drops carve canyons. A single brick looks unremarkable, but brick by brick, cathedrals rise. In the same way, our daily actions, tiny, almost invisible, compound into results that appear unstoppable. The problem is most people underestimate small wins. They dismiss them as too trivial, too slow, too unworthy of recognition. But those who understand the power of compounding know that the difference between mediocrity and mastery lies not in grand gestures, but in the discipline of stacking one win on top of another. Tonight, I want to show you why small wins are not small at all. They are the seeds of transformation, and when nurtured, they grow into results that once felt impossible. When we talk about small wins, we often dismiss them as unworthy of celebration. We think that only massive accomplishments deserve recognition, and in doing so, we miss one of the greatest truths about growth. The power of small wins is unmatched. They may not look spectacular, but they are the sparks that ignite the fire of progress. A small win is that decision to get out of bed when you feel like sleeping in. It is writing a single page when your goal is to write a book. It is saving a little bit of money even when the amount seems too small to matter. Each of these moments may appear insignificant in isolation, but when they accumulate, they create momentum that can change everything. The psychology of progress tells us that small wins carry disproportionate weight. When you accomplish even a minor task, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical associated with pleasure and motivation. That release fuels you to take the next step and then the next. Before long, you find yourself in motion, driven not by the size of the goal, but by the satisfaction of progress. This is why small wins are powerful. They make progress tangible and achievable. They prove to you in real time that you are moving forward. Imagine a person trying to lose weight. The thought of losing 50 pounds feels daunting, almost impossible. But if that person celebrates the first pound lost, the first week of healthy eating, the first time they choose water over soda, suddenly the journey feels manageable. Each small win validates the effort and keeps the individual invested in the process. Over time, these little victories accumulate into major transformations. Without recognizing and valuing them, many people quit before they ever reach their larger goals. Consider also the realm of business. Companies don't usually leap into success with a single idea that changes everything overnight. More often, they build layer by layer, refining products, improving customer experiences, and learning from failures. Each improvement, each satisfied customer, each solved problem is a small win that strengthens the foundation of the company. What looks like an overnight success is usually the result of years of accumulated small wins that no one saw. The same principle applies to personal growth. Learning a new skill, for example, can feel overwhelming. Let's say you want to learn a new language. If you measure progress only by fluency, you'll constantly feel inadequate. But if you measure progress by celebrating the day you learned 10 new words, the day you could form a sentence, or the day you understood a conversation, you'll stay motivated. Every small win acts as a milestone that keeps you engaged in the long journey. Without them, the path would feel endless and discouragement would set in. One of the greatest misconceptions about small wins is that they don't count. People often feel embarrassed to celebrate them, believing that only the big results deserve attention. But this thinking robs us of one of the most powerful tools available. Small wins are not small at all. They are proof of alignment, discipline, and forward motion. When you recognize them, you fuel your own belief. You teach yourself that progress is possible. Momentum is a powerful force and often begins with the smallest of victory. Think about pushing a heavy boulder. At first, it doesn't budge. You push with all your strength and it feels like nothing is happening. But eventually the boulder shifts just slightly. That's a small win. It's not the final destination, but it is evidence that your effort matters. Once the boulder starts rolling, even slowly, it becomes easier to keep it in motion. That's how progress compounds. One small win leads to another, and soon what once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. Small wins also change identity. Every time you achieve one, you reinforce a new story about yourself. When you run for 5 minutes, you're not just exercising. You're proving to yourself that you're becoming a runner. When you save a small amount of money, you're not just stashing away cash. You're proving to yourself that you're financially disciplined. Identity is shaped not by dramatic declarations, but by repeated actions that confirm who we are. Small wins are the building blocks of that identity, and they quietly transform the way we see ourselves. It's easy to underestimate what looks trivial, but every monumental achievement is just a series of small wins stacked together. Cathedrals are built brick by brick. Novels are written word by word. Fortunes are saved dollar by dollar. Every great accomplishment you admire was once invisible, hidden in the accumulation of tiny, almost forgettable moments. The problem is that most people never get far enough to see the compounding effect. They dismiss small wins as meaningless, quit when they don't see immediate results, and wonder why success seems out of reach. If you take only one lesson, let it be this: small wins are the gateway to big results. They are not optional. They are not insignificant. They are the heartbeat of progress. When you start honoring them, celebrating them, and building on them, you unlock a force far greater than motivation. You build momentum, and momentum, once it begins, is nearly unstoppable. When we think about success, most people imagine a single, massive push that changes everything. They think of an athlete training relentlessly for weeks before a big competition, or an entrepreneur working 80 hours straight to launch a product. While those intense bursts can grab attention, they are rarely what leads to lasting success. The truth is, consistency outperforms intensity almost every time. It's not about how hard you push once. It's about how often you show up, how steadily you keep moving forward, and how disciplined you remain when the excitement fades. Consistency is the quiet hero of achievement. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand applause. Instead, it works silently, layering progress day after day until the results are undeniable. A person who works out moderately 5 times a week will be in better shape than someone who works out intensely once a month. A writer who commits to a single page a day will finish a book faster than someone who waits for bursts of inspiration. Intensity can light the fire, but consistency is what keeps it burning. The power of consistency lies in its ability to create habits. Habits, once established, run on autopilot. They no longer require massive willpower because they become part of your identity. For example, brushing your teeth doesn't require motivation. You just do it because it's a consistent part of your routine. Imagine if the same principle applied to your fitness, your finances, or your career. When actions become habitual through repetition, progress stops being a struggle and starts being natural. Consistency is the gateway to making that shift. But consistency requires humility because the results are often invisible at first. That's why so many people struggle with it. You can go to the gym for a week and see almost no change in your body. You can practice a skill every day for a month and still feel inadequate. You can post your work online for months and get little recognition. This lack of immediate reward is what makes people give up, but those who stay consistent, even when the results are hidden, eventually see breakthroughs. The compounding effect is slow, but it's inevitable. A single day of effort may feel meaningless, but repeated days stack into transformation. Think about water boiling. At 211 degrees, water is hot, but still water. At 212 degrees, just 1 degree more boils. That single degree makes all the difference, but it only happens because of the consistent application of heat. If you kept stopping the flame every few minutes, the water would never reach boiling, no matter how hot the bursts were. Life works the same way. Intensity without consistency keeps you reheating water that never boils. Consistency ensures that eventually you cross the threshold where transformation happens. Athletes understand this deeply. They don't build their strength from a single heroic workout. They build it from thousands of consistent, disciplined sessions over time. Muscles grow not from pushing once, but from a repeated cycle of stress and recovery. In business, the most successful companies don't thrive because of one lucky product launch. They thrive because of consistent customer service, consistent innovation, and consistent learning. Relationships, too, don't flourish because of one grand romantic gesture, but because of consistent acts of love, kindness, and attention. The danger of relying only on intensity is burnout. You can give everything you have in one push, but you can't sustain it. And when you crash, you lose momentum. Consistency, however, is sustainable. It teaches you to pace yourself, to embrace progress as a long journey rather than a sprint. It may not feel as dramatic, but it works. Those who commit to showing up every day, even if only in small ways, will always surpass those who go all out once and then disappear. Consistency also builds trust with yourself and with others. When you consistently honor your commitments, you strengthen your self-respect. You start to believe in your own word. Others also begin to trust you because reliability is more powerful than flashes of brilliance. A person who consistently delivers, even modestly, will be valued more than someone who delivers spectacularly, but only occasionally. The world celebrates intensity because it makes for exciting stories. The viral success, the sudden breakthrough, the dramatic transformation. All of these catch our attention, but what the world often overlooks is the years of consistency that made those overnight successes possible. The truth behind almost every achievement is that someone showed up consistently when it was boring, unglamorous, and unnoticed. So if you want to change your life, stop waiting for the perfect moment to go all in. Instead, focus on what you can do consistently, even if it feels small. A short daily workout, a few pages read, a few dollars saved, a single conversation with someone who matters. Over time, these consistent efforts compound into extraordinary results. Intensity may help you start, but consistency ensures you finish. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people think of momentum as something that only exists in sports or physics, a simple law of motion that doesn't apply to everyday life. But momentum is everywhere, and it is especially potent in the pursuit of success. The principle is simple. Once you start moving forward, even in small ways, the energy you create propels you to continue. What makes small wins so transformative is that they generate psychological momentum, an internal force that makes taking the next step easier, more natural, and even enjoyable. Every small victory, no matter how minor it seems, creates a sense of accomplishment. That sense of accomplishment triggers a positive emotional response in the brain. Dopamine is released, and suddenly the effort you put in feels rewarding. That reward doesn't just make you feel good, it motivates you to keep going. Each small win is a signal to your brain that progress is possible and that your actions matter. This is why psychological momentum is so powerful. It converts effort into motivation, motivation into habit, and habit into results. Consider someone learning a musical instrument. The first day, they may struggle to play a single note cleanly. On the second day, they play a simple scale. The next day, a short melody. Each of these small wins builds confidence and momentum. The beginner feels progress, which encourages them to practice more, which leads to more wins. Without this compounding effect of psychological momentum, learning an instrument could feel overwhelming and discouraging. It's not talent alone that drives mastery. It's the consistent accumulation of small, reinforcing victories that create forward motion. The same principle applies to professional and personal goals. Imagine you're trying to improve your career. The first small win might be completing a challenging project ahead of schedule. That win builds confidence and credibility, which makes you more willing to take on the next challenge. That second win amplifies the effect of the first, and soon you have a series of successes that feels unstoppable. Psychological momentum doesn't just make tasks easier. It transforms your mindset. You start to see yourself as someone who achieves, someone capable, someone who can handle challenges rather than fearing them. One reason small wins generate such strong momentum is that they reduce the perceived difficulty of future tasks. When you have already succeeded in a small way, you are less intimidated by larger challenges. Each success reshapes your self-image and your expectations. You no longer see goals as distant or unattainable. You see them as a series of achievable steps. This is critical because most people fail not from lack of skill or resources, but from feeling overwhelmed. Psychological momentum combats overwhelm by proving, step by step, that progress is possible. Momentum also compounds over time in ways that are almost invisible at first. The more small wins you achieve, the more they build on one another, creating a sense of inevitability. A person who writes one paragraph a day may not notice much progress after a week, but after a month, a few hundred paragraphs accumulate into chapters. After a year, a book emerges where once there was only an idea. Each paragraph was a small win, but collectively, they generated unstoppable momentum. This effect extends to mindset as well. Psychological momentum encourages optimism and resilience. When you start experiencing small wins, you begin to internalize the belief that you are capable of change and growth. Setbacks become temporary obstacles rather than permanent failures. The confidence gained from repeated small victories makes you more willing to take risks, try new strategies, and persist in the face of difficulty. In essence, momentum transforms not just what you do, but who you are. Yet many people underestimate the value of small wins because they focus only on large, dramatic results. They ignore the subtle, cumulative power of momentum. They get frustrated when success doesn't arrive overnight, not realizing that momentum works quietly behind the scenes until it reaches a tipping point. Once you understand this principle, you stop looking for instant gratification and start valuing every step forward, however minor. Every completed task, every lesson learned, every small victory builds a psychological reservoir that fuels the next achievement. Momentum, once created, is self-reinforcing. The more you achieve, the more motivated you become. The more motivated you become, the more you act, the more you achieve. It is a cycle that, once initiated, becomes difficult to stop. This is why starting matters more than perfection. Even the smallest action taken consistently sets this powerful process in motion. Small wins are the triggers, momentum is the engine. Together, they make extraordinary results inevitable. Big goals can feel intimidating. When we think about achieving something significant, our minds often focus on the enormity of the task rather than the steps required to reach it. This perception creates anxiety, procrastination, and self-doubt. The human brain is wired to avoid risk and discomfort, and a massive goal often looks like both. But there's a strategy that turns what feels overwhelming into something manageable, breaking down big goals into smaller, achievable steps. This approach not only makes the path clearer, but also increases the likelihood of success. When we divide a large goal into smaller components, we create a roadmap that guides our actions. Instead of facing one enormous, vague challenge, we see a series of concrete steps that are within our control. Each step becomes a milestone, a measurable target that allows us to gauge progress. The clarity of this structure reduces fear and uncertainty, transforming a daunting objective into a series of achievable tasks. The key is to make these steps specific, actionable, and realistic so that each accomplishment builds momentum toward the larger vision. Consider someone who wants to run a marathon but has never run more than a mile. The thought of running 26.2 miles in one go is paralyzing. But if that person sets smaller goals, first running 1 mile, then 2, then 5, and gradually increasing distance, the journey becomes tangible. Each completed step builds confidence and skill, turning an intimidating goal into a series of achievable actions. Without this breakdown, the marathon may seem impossible, and the individual may never start. Breaking down goals also combats procrastination. When a task feels too large, the brain often responds with avoidance. By focusing on smaller, manageable actions, we reduce the friction that comes with starting. Writing a single paragraph, making a phone call, or performing one small exercise session feels doable, even if the overall goal is monumental. Over time, these incremental actions accumulate into significant results. Progress, even when small, reinforces motivation and encourages continued effort. This approach also allows for flexibility and adaptation. Large goals often come with uncertainty, unexpected obstacles, changing circumstances, or moments of doubt. When the goal is broken into smaller steps, adjustments can be made without losing sight of the ultimate objective. If one path doesn't work, another can be explored without abandoning the goal entirely. The smaller the steps, the more nimble and resilient the process becomes, allowing persistence in the face of challenges. Another benefit of breaking down goals is the sense of achievement that comes with completing each step. Humans are wired to respond to progress, no matter how small. Each milestone achieved releases dopamine, a chemical in the brain that reinforces positive behavior. These small celebrations are not trivial. They fuel motivation, build confidence, and create a sense of forward motion. Over time, the accumulation of these small victories transforms what once felt impossible into a tangible reality. This method is also a safeguard against burnout. Attempting to tackle a massive goal all at once is exhausting, both physically and mentally. It can lead to frustration, discouragement, and ultimately giving up. By focusing on incremental progress, we conserve energy and maintain sustainable effort. The journey becomes about steady advancement rather than heroic, unsustainable effort. Consistency replaces intensity as the driver of results, and the pace feels more natural and manageable. Breaking down goals also creates focus. A large objective can easily distract us with its scale and complexity. Smaller steps allow us to concentrate on what matters most in the moment. They prevent overwhelm by directing attention to immediate actions instead of the distant finish line. By focusing on the next achievable step, we maintain clarity and reduce the mental clutter that often accompanies ambitious goals. Ultimately, breaking down big goals is about building a bridge between vision and reality. A lofty aspiration without a plan is just a dream. But when we deconstruct it into actionable steps, we convert vision into strategy, uncertainty into confidence, and ambition into achievement. The process transforms overwhelming objectives into a sequence of small wins that build momentum, reinforce belief, and drive results. It is not the size of the goal that determines success, but the structure, clarity, and consistent effort applied to reach it. The truth is that all extraordinary accomplishments are the product of incremental progress. Mountains are climbed step by step. Empires are built one decision at a time. Mastery in any field comes from the careful accumulation of skills and knowledge, not from a single leap. By breaking down big goals into smaller, achievable steps, we make the journey manageable, the process sustainable, and the outcome inevitable. One of the most remarkable aspects of small wins is their ripple effect. A single achievement, no matter how modest it seems, does not exist in isolation. Each success influences other areas of life, creating a chain reaction that touches habits, mindset, relationships, and future decisions. This ripple effect is why small wins matter far more than they appear to at first glance. What may seem like a tiny step forward can transform your behavior, outlook, and circumstances in ways you could never anticipate. When you achieve something, even something minor, you experience a boost in confidence. That confidence is not limited to the area in which you succeeded. It spills over into other domains. A person who completes a small fitness goal, for example, may find themselves more motivated to eat healthier, organize their day more effectively, or take on new challenges at work. Confidence from small wins is like a wave that spreads beyond the initial action, encouraging further progress in multiple areas of life. The ripple effect also works on a behavioral level. Humans are creatures of habit, and success often breeds repetition. When you experience the satisfaction of a small win, you're more likely to repeat the behaviors that led to it. Each repetition reinforces the habit, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of improvement. This is why small wins are so powerful. They initiate momentum, turning one positive action into a cascade of constructive behaviors that extend far beyond the original context. Another dimension of the ripple effect is its influence on mindset. Small wins shift your perception of what is possible. When you achieve something you once thought difficult or unattainable, you expand your sense of capability. That expansion changes the way you approach challenges. Problems that seemed insurmountable before now appear solvable. Your mindset evolves from one of limitation and doubt to one of possibility and action. Each small victory stretches your vision, allowing you to aim higher and take on bigger goals. Small wins also impact the people around you. Success is contagious, and those who witness your progress are often inspired to pursue their own goals. A parent who completes a small exercise goal might encourage their children to adopt healthy habits. A team member who achieves a minor work milestone can motivate the entire group to push forward. The ripple effect of small wins extends beyond personal growth. It creates influence, inspiration, and positive change in the wider environment. Moreover, small wins help reduce fear and resistance. Many people hesitate to act because the stakes seem too high or the challenge is too great. But achieving a small win proves to yourself that action is possible and that you are capable of making progress. That proof reduces fear, increases willingness to take risks, and encourages experimentation. One small success builds courage for the next, gradually dismantling the mental barriers that often hold people back from pursuing their full potential. The ripple effect also strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable. When you experience consistent small wins, you develop a reservoir of confidence and momentum that buffers against failure. Each victory acts as evidence of your ability to overcome challenges, making it easier to recover from setbacks and continue moving forward. The ripple effect creates a cumulative strength that enhances perseverance and adaptability, allowing you to navigate obstacles without losing sight of your goals. Consider someone working on personal finances. Saving a small amount of money each week might seem insignificant, but over time it builds discipline and confidence. That discipline can then influence spending habits, career decisions, and long-term planning. The initial small win of saving becomes a catalyst for a broader transformation, affecting multiple aspects of life and creating outcomes far beyond the original action. This illustrates how the ripple effect compounds, turning modest beginnings into profound results. Small wins also create a sense of inevitability. When progress begins to accumulate, it generates momentum that propels you forward. One win leads to another, and before long, a pattern emerges. Achievements no longer feel random. They feel intentional, predictable, and unstoppable. The ripple effect magnifies every effort, turning incremental actions into a trajectory of success that eventually reaches levels once thought impossible. Ultimately, the ripple effect demonstrates that success is not linear. It is not a single event or a sudden breakthrough. It is the result of countless small wins, each influencing the next, each expanding into new areas of life, each creating conditions for further progress. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require perfection, only action. One small win, taken seriously and built upon, has the power to change everything. Patience is one of the most underrated qualities in the pursuit of success. In a world obsessed with instant results and overnight transformations, it is easy to become frustrated when progress feels slow or invisible. Yet patience is not passive waiting, it is the active, disciplined practice of trusting the process and committing to consistent effort over time. When combined with small wins and steady action, patience becomes a powerful force that allows results to compound and grow in ways that seem almost magical in hindsight. The reality is that success rarely happens overnight. Every achievement worth having requires time, effort, and persistence. Whether it is building a business, mastering a skill, improving your health, or strengthening relationships, the results we desire are usually the product of repeated actions sustained over months or even years. Patience allows us to endure the period between action and result without losing focus or motivation. It teaches us to keep showing up even when immediate feedback is absent or the progress is imperceptible. Patience is also a critical ally in navigating setbacks. Challenges and obstacles are inevitable. Plans may fail, progress may stall, and unexpected difficulties can arise. Without patience, these moments often lead to frustration, discouragement, or giving up entirely. But those who cultivate patience understand that setbacks are part of the journey, not the end of it. They maintain their commitment to consistent effort, knowing that over time, persistence transforms challenges into stepping stones. Patience allows us to see setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. Compounding is at the heart of why patience is so essential. Just as small wins accumulate over time to create momentum, consistent efforts compound and produce results far beyond what a single action could achieve. A single day of discipline may seem inconsequential, but repeated daily over months or years, it yields extraordinary outcomes. Patience allows us to remain engaged in this long-term process even when the immediate effects are invisible. It is the quiet force that ensures the accumulation of effort leads to transformation. Consider someone investing in their career. Learning a new skill, building a professional network, or gaining experience may take months or years before yielding tangible rewards. Patience is required to continue learning, growing, and taking action, even when the results are not immediately apparent. Each small step adds value, and over time, these incremental gains build a foundation for significant achievements. Without patience, people often abandon their efforts prematurely, never realizing the benefits of compounding action. Patience also nurtures a healthy mindset. Impatience breeds anxiety, stress, and a desire for shortcuts that often lead to mistakes. When we practice patience, we accept that growth is a process, not an event. We focus on what we can control, our actions, decisions, and attitudes, rather than obsessing over outcomes beyond our immediate influence. This perspective fosters clarity, reduces frustration, and allows us to approach challenges with calm, strategic thinking rather than reactive emotion. Another aspect of patience is trust. Trust in the process, trust in your efforts, trust in the principle that consistent action yields results. Patience is essentially a declaration of faith that small actions taken faithfully will eventually produce the desired outcome. It is the understanding that visible results are only the tip of the iceberg, while the invisible progress underneath continues to grow and strengthen. Trust and patience go hand in hand, allowing us to persevere even when we cannot yet see the fruits of our labor. Patience also strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how well we plan, setbacks and delays are inevitable. Those who are patient are better equipped to endure uncertainty, recover from failure, and continue moving forward. Patience reinforces discipline by encouraging steady, consistent effort, even in the face of difficulty. It ensures that momentum is maintained and that progress is not derailed by temporary discomfort or disappointment. Finally, patience teaches the value of long-term vision. In a culture obsessed with instant gratification, those who are willing to wait and work steadily often achieve results that others cannot imagine. They understand that meaningful accomplishments are rarely instantaneous. They are the product of careful planning, consistent effort, and the disciplined application of time. By embracing patience, we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of growth and allow our efforts to compound into extraordinary results. In essence, patience transforms the journey of effort into a process of trust, resilience, and compounding progress. It bridges the gap between action and result, allowing consistent effort to accumulate into remarkable achievement. Without patience, even the best plans and hardest work may falter. With patience, however, the seemingly small and invisible actions of today become the monumental successes of tomorrow. What seems invisible today often becomes inevitable tomorrow. This is the essence of compounding progress. Many people fail to recognize the significance of small, consistent actions because their impact is not immediately visible. A single choice, a single effort, a single small win often feels trivial. But over time, these seemingly minor actions accumulate, interact, and compound in ways that produce extraordinary outcomes. The truth is, the results that appear sudden or monumental are almost always the product of countless invisible steps taken consistently over time. The power of invisible progress lies in its subtlety. Small wins, repeated daily, may not produce instant gratification or dramatic change. A person learning a new skill may struggle for weeks without noticing significant improvement. An entrepreneur building a business may face months of slow growth that seems discouraging. A student studying diligently may not see immediate gains in their grades. Yet beneath the surface, change is occurring. Skills are improving, knowledge is accumulating, habits are strengthening, and confidence is growing. These invisible changes lay the foundation for future success, Even when the evidence is not immediately apparent, invisible progress is reinforced by consistency. Every small action compounds, building momentum and creating a trajectory toward results that eventually become undeniable. Consider the example of a writer who commits to writing 1 page a day. At first, the progress seems negligible, 1 page in a sea of hundreds. But over time, those pages accumulate, chapters form, and eventually a complete book emerges. Each day's effort was invisible in isolation, yet the cumulative effect is remarkable. This illustrates a fundamental principle. What is imperceptible today may become inevitable tomorrow. The principle of invisible progress also applies to personal growth. Habits, mindset shifts, and character development are often invisible in the short term. Learning patience, building resilience, or improving emotional intelligence may not yield immediate, tangible results. But as these traits strengthen over time, they profoundly influence decision-making, behavior, and outcomes. By the time others notice, the transformation appears sudden and dramatic, but it is simply the natural result of consistent, invisible progress. Patience and trust are essential to navigating the invisible phase of growth. It is tempting to give up when the results of effort are not immediately apparent. Many people abandon their goals because they underestimate the compounding nature of small wins. They focus only on what is visible and measurable today rather than recognizing the power of incremental accumulation. Those who understand the principle of invisible progress maintain discipline and consistency. Confident that the work they do now will eventually yield results, they trust the process even when the effects are not yet tangible. The inevitability of results also stems from the cumulative effect of compounding actions. Just as interest compounds in a bank account, small efforts compound in life, multiplying an impact over time. One productive habit reinforces another. One small win builds confidence for the next. One incremental improvement opens doors to opportunities that were previously inaccessible. The compounding effect makes success not just possible, but increasingly inevitable. Over time, even the tiniest actions, when repeated consistently, produce outcomes far beyond what could be achieved by a single effort alone. Another crucial aspect of invisible progress is the transformation of mindset. As small wins accumulate and results begin to manifest, belief in one's ability strengthens. Confidence grows, resilience solidifies, and risk-taking becomes less intimidating. By the time visible results appear, the internal changes that underpin them have been firmly established. What seemed invisible for so long is now undeniable, and the individual is prepared to sustain and expand their success. The danger lies in underestimating invisible progress. Many people quit too soon, expecting immediate results, or they overemphasize dramatic one-time achievements while neglecting the small, consistent actions that truly drive success. In contrast, those who embrace the invisible phase understand that progress is not always visible, but it is always happening. They cultivate discipline, patience, and focus, trusting that their persistent efforts are building something powerful beneath the surface. Ultimately, invisible progress leads to inevitable results because of its compounding nature, its ability to build momentum, and its transformative effect on mindset and behavior. What starts as small, unnoticed action eventually produces visible, undeniable outcomes. This principle is a reminder that the journey towards success is rarely dramatic in the moment, but when approached with consistency, patience, and awareness, it becomes unstoppable. The small, invisible steps we take today are the seeds of the extraordinary results we will inevitably achieve tomorrow.